Hi, I'm Eleanor from Sweet Deviation Farm and sweetdeviation.com. I'm the knitter, spinner, weaver, and potter at our farm store in Plantersville, Texas. Today I'm going to show you how to turn the heel on the toe-up socks. We will be using short rows or wrap and turns to decrease one side of the sock for the first part of the heel turn. The second part involves picking up those wrap turns. If you haven't already, join us in the Facebook Socktober Knit Along group. The link is in the description. Okay, ladies, at this point we're ready to start turning the heel. So to this point we have done the foundational cast on, we have increased and then knit in the round all the way up until the point that we have our foot measurement according to your foot. And the directions for reaching that point or measuring to that point are found in the sock recipe file. Okay, so assuming that we've gotten to that point, we've knit far enough. Now we're going to turn the heel. So we're going to start by slipping the first stitch. You do not knit it, you just slip it as if to knit. Then you're going to knit all the way across until you reach the second to the last stitch. And I hope y'all are not using long needles like I am. The reason I'm using these needles is that I generally knit 2 socks at a time, which is a technique that I will show y'all, but not until we've mastered this. But I prefer to knit 2 at a time, it's just so much faster. So okay, we've come to this point. We have 2 stitches on our left needle. So I want you to place this yarn in front of that stitch. You're going to slip it off, wrap, and then put it back so it doesn't get knit. So this last stitch is not knit, and the second one you just have a wrap, and now we're going to turn. And don't worry, because I'll do this, just hang with me for a second and you'll see me do it again a few times. So that second stitch I did not knit, I just wrapped that stitch around it. Now I'm going to purl back across. Now we're not knitting any of these stitches. We're only working on the heel stitches. And I should have mentioned this before, but you want to be sure that you have a matching number of stitches. So if you have, for instance, I have 20 on this side, I want 20 on that side as well. And your number may be different dependent on your gauge and the width of your foot. So continue to purl across. And just like the cast on, this may seem a little fiddly at first, but it becomes easier the more often you do it, like anything else, right? So just stick with it. You're going to purl until the second to the last purl, just like before on the knit side. You're going to wrap and turn it again. So you're going to slide this. You're going to wrap this yarn and then slide it back. You don't knit it. So now we have a wrap and turn on that, and you can see that there's a little bit of a you can just see that it turns around there. So continue. You're going to knit all the way across. You're going to have plenty of time to practice the wrap and turn technique, my dears, because that is really what's going to turn this sock. It's like magic. And I do wish that my needles weren't so loud. I'm trying to stay in focus but not have them clink on this table. Okay. Now we're going to knit up until the point, so that was the first stitch. We did not knit, we slipped that one. We wrapped this one, and now we're on the one before the last wrap. So we're going to wrap and turn. Do not knit it. Purl all the way to the other side. Now, I'm not a big fan of purling. I think it slows me down. So I'll show you a different technique that I've practiced. I don't recommend it necessarily for this sock until you really nail it and you've got it down, but it's something that you can kind of stash away for a later time. All right. So you know what? I just noticed that the stitch is loose. Never mind that. That one needs to go in there, and I'll fix that later. So don't sweat it. Just ignore that. All right. So this was the wrap and turn stitch is right there. You can see it. So I've got to purl one more, and then I'm going to slide it over, wrap it, and then slide it back for the wrap and the turn. Okay. Didn't knit it. We're going to knit across, same as before. This is basically this portion of the sock. Now I did call it a decrease, and technically we're not decreasing. It's shaping, so I'm gonna rename that because it's just not technically a decrease. Some short rows do call for decreases, but my socks don't. I don't prefer it, and I think that it's easier to do it this way. So that was, I over knit, so I've taken it off the needle. I put it back because that's the one that I'm going to turn. So that's the one I slipped. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. We're going to wrap this one. So put that stringer there, put it back on this needle and turn. All right, so like I'd mentioned, normally I would turn and purl this way, but I'm not trying to confuse you, and just ignore it, ignore this, continue and ignore this if it's already too confusing, because it's not necessary. But this is just a way that you can practice when you're knitting lots of socks. Once you get the pattern down, I like to purl by knitting in reverse. So rather than turn my work around, I just knit it back from my left hand to my right. And I'll turn it around here and you'll see that it's exactly a purl stitch. And I don't use stitch markers here because it's pretty obvious which ones are turned. So I'll show you here. And you can see that was a slip, that has a wrap, that has a wrap. So I'm going to wrap this one. All right, y'all, never mind that train. In case y'all didn't know this, Jim and I live in a century-old farmhouse in Plantersville, Texas. We've got 5 little acres here, and we raise our alpacas and have our fiber farm here. So occasionally we have a train come through. I personally like it, but anyway, that's what that was. All right, so now we've wrapped and we turned. So we've got a slip, wrap, 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 and we're going to knit across, and you guessed it, we're just going to continue to wrap and turn the last stitch before the last wrap. So I just kind of get on by, and then once I start to feel like, oop, I might be close, and I am, I went too far, I'm going to unknit that, and I'm going to slide it, place that yarn around, and then wrap and turn. And this time I'll purl so I don't confuse y'all. So I'm just going to purl across. And you should start seeing this heel kind of take shape here. We'll do a couple of the rows and then we'll take a look at it. So that's obviously a wrap. So I've got to do this one and then I'm going to wrap it. Now, personally, I always bring the yarn toward the purl side. That's how I remember. So rather than slip and push it this way, that's away from the purl side. I like to slide it and then bring the yarn to the purl side. And I'll make sure to note that in the pattern so that it'll make sense when you see that you'll know what I'm talking about. So we've got the slip, the yarn, oh, excuse me, the wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn. And go to the other side and do it again. And what I love about these socks is nothing has to be perfect at all. My only suggestion is that if whatever you do on this one, take a note so you make sure that you do it on the other one. Because you're going to see that's the wrap right there. So I'm going to slip and wrap and turn. You just want to take note of whatever you do on the one sock because you'll want to make sure that you duplicate that on the other socks so that you can have a matching pair. That's when the knitting 2 socks at a time comes in handy because you know that it's going to be exactly the same because you're doing the same thing at the same time on two individual and separate socks. But that is a lesson for another time. Okay, so you've got slip, wrap, 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 and I'm going too far again. It goes faster than you think it will. So you're going to bring it toward the purl side, and right about this time, I like to just take a look at it. So we have our wraps, and we have our wraps here. And I want you to count the stitches that are not wrapped. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this would be a good time to end that heel turn so that we could get a similar turn, one that matches the heel. But I like my heels to be just a little bit tighter, so this is my personal preference. I will generally go one more. So rather than have 8, I'm going to leave 6 stitches on the back. And once you get used to knitting socks, you'll find what suits you best. I personally cannot stand a saggy heel, so I'm going to go a little bit tighter. I like a little bit of a sock hug. So, well, y'all forgive me, I just keep going too far. This one needs to be a wrap and a turn. And then purl. And one more purl. And that one's already wrapped, so we're going to wrap and turn that guy. Okay. All right. You can see how that's already starting to shape and match what we have going on here. Okay, so we have just finished this first part of the heel, and we should have an equal number of wrapped stitches. So in my case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wrap stitches, and then, well, including the slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can see how that's a regular stitch, and that's the wrap stitch. Okay, so from this point, we have just wrapped, and we're going to turn. Going to the first wrap and turn. So you can see that there's a little bit of a gap in between the stitches. It's pretty obvious where that is. So we're going to pull that stitch up onto this needle on the right hand, unless you're left-handed, in which case I will have to figure that out. But you're going to, anyway, at any rate, bring it across this way and pick that stitch up. The stitch that we wrapped, we're going to pick it up, and then we are going to knit those two together. Okay? And then we are going to wrap and turn, same as before. So we are going to purl the one that we just wrapped. I have to take it, never mind. We're going to slip that one. And now we're going to purl. So purl all the way across. Until we get to the first wrap on the purl side, which is right there. And we're going to do the same thing. Just slide it onto your needle here. And do whatever feels comfortable. You might want to not hold it continental so that you can see what you're doing. And you're going to pick that wrap up. Okay, just however you have to do it, whatever feels comfortable. In my case, I pick it up and now I moved it over to the left needle so that I can purl it. So I'm going to purl, and then I am going to slip, wrap, and turn again. Okay, bring it back to this needle. And then I'm going to knit again, same as before, all the way across until I get to past the point that we just picked up. We're going to have one area where we just picked up those stitches, and now we have 2 stitches. Now the reason we have 2 stitches is because we had wrapped and turned the first time, and then we wrapped and turned when we knit these 2 together. So I know it's confusing, but bear with me and trust that that's absolutely right. So now we are going to have this stitch up on the needle, and we're going to pick up 1 wrap and the second wrap. Okay, so now we have 3 stitches on this needle. We are going to knit the 3 together. Okay, that's going to give actually a really nice little detail on the heel. So we're going to wrap and turn. You see how that wrap and turn makes that the second wrap. So if you include the stitch on the needle, 1 wrap, 2 wrap, that's how we wind up with the 3 that we had to knit together there. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we're going to wrap and turn, and then slide it over and purl across until we get to the next wrap, and do it all over again. And there it is right there. I hope y'all can see that. So I'm going to slide it over, only because this is what's easiest for me, to slide it over. Y'all pick it up any way you want to. It doesn't make a difference as long as you pick up those wrap turns. So I'm going to purl those 3 together. And then remember to wrap toward the purl, or rather, yeah, the purl side, like so. And I have the wrap right there, and now I'm going to knit across, same as before. And I'm going to have to stop here because I think Jim is home from the airport, and I've got to unlock that gate and let him in, or he won't be too happy with me. So get to this point. Now I'm going to knit those 3 stitches together, and I'm going to wrap and turn and purl again. All right, so you can see how that's starting to turn into a heel that looks a whole lot like that. And this will be continued in just a second. Okay, that was a false alarm. That was not Jim. That was just a dog barking for God knows what reason. Okay, so we did, let me see. We wrapped and turned. Purl across. Until we get to the next stitch. We're going to pick up those yarn overs. Get up there. Okay. And we're going to purl them together. Alright, y'all, we're getting real close to finishing this portion of it. So we're going to wrap and turn, right? And bring this guy over here. Sorry, I really did not intend this to be so crazy. That interruption kind of threw me off a little bit, but I want to make sure we get these videos up so we don't lose anybody. Alright, so now knit across. Knit. That one's still a knit. And this one is also a knit, but that is a pickup stitch. So I guess it makes a difference which way you go, so long as you pick them up. Okay, and knit them together, and we're going to wrap that stitch and turn back around. Now this is the important part here. Please note, if this is confusing, this is the stuff I need to know. So I'm really just trying to speak as clearly as I can, but naturally too, because I just really hate when videos just go on and they seem to be more confusing when instructors just add more information than they need to. Now here's an opportunity to show you a mistake. You see this extra stitch there? I must not have stitched it correctly, so we're just going to purl that back up, and we're still in business there. Okay, no big deal. I find it easier to fix mistakes on the knit side, but if I have to do something to it, maybe sometimes they don't twist the right way. I'll take a closer look on the other side, make sure that it's done properly. Okay, so here we are. We've got to pick those up. Pick them up, put them on, and we're going to purl all three of these babies together, like so. And we're still at the wrap and turn. See, we have one more wrap and turn to be done after this one. So, wrap, turn, and we're going to knit across. And here we are again. Yeah, let's see there. We're getting real close. And knit, rather not knit. See, I'm losing it. Wrap and turn, wrap and turn. Now, once Jim gets back and we get settled in, he's going to help me to set up the proper recording area. This was just kind of done. He had set up a lit studio for me in the parlor, and it was great. The images were great. The video was working on a really nice camera that I have. And then the day that he left town, it all came crashing down. I burnt the bulbs out. So that happened. That's what I have, in case y'all wondered what that is. Yeah, that's one of my injuries from that little episode. But he's going to fix it up for us so that we can get better images when I come around to do the real thing. This is just a test run. Then y'all can tell me whether or not it's useful. Maybe I should stop talking and distracting y'all. Okay, we're going to pick up those stitches. Now we're almost done. Purl them all together. Purl, purl, purl. And then we're going to, toward the purl, we're going to wrap and turn and work around. Oh, that's starting to really come together. All right, we're so close, almost done here. I wonder if I would be better to, first of all, be quiet. And maybe go a little slower. Y'all let me know. Okay. Knit. Knit. Okay, that's a pickup right there. So we're going to slide it over, pick up those stitches. And we're going to knit that together. Okay, now we're down to that first stitch that we only slipped. We didn't knit it. Go ahead now, and we're going to slip it, rather wrap and turn it. Okay, that's going to keep us from having a hole right on that spot. Sometimes those holes can be decorative. I prefer not to have them. I like my socks to be nice and sturdy. So purl all the way to the other side. Okay. We are going to pick up these stitches, all of them. Let me try not to split that yarn. Now remember, I had that mistake there, so y'all just kind of disregard that. That bit right there, I might have to come back and take a look at that. Yeah, now I have a problem. I'm going to have to fix that. But let me just go ahead and continue on. We're just going to go ahead and leave that there. And we're going to knit, or rather purl. I'm going to stick that guy up there because I think he belongs in there. We're going to purl, and I do believe that he does belong there, and I'll pick him up on the side. That's exactly what I need to do. Y'all never mind this part. It happens sometimes. All right, so we purled those together. Now we're on the last one. We're going to wrap and turn. And that, my friends, concludes that heel turn. And you'll see it looks almost exactly like the toe that we first cast on. So there you have it. You're going to wrap and turn, and now we're going to knit in the round again. That's it. Go all the way around, and then we're going to start to build the cuff. Now at the cuff, it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I personally like a nice rib stitch, so I would start doing like the socks that I have on the cover photo have a rib stitch starting from right about this point. But if you wanted to just knit in the round just to keep it simple, then you can just do the rib on the last couple of inches at the cuff to keep it from sliding down. And I'll show you a really cool technique for that, so that we have a nice stretchy and comfortable cuff. So we're just going to knit in the round. All right, y'all. I will come back and check on you in a bit. Thanks for watching, y'all. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Share this video with your friends and family, and of course, don't forget to join us on Facebook.